Hi guys, as I promised, I'm on the Punto GT. I'm just showing how to adjust the beeper cam that's been fitted to this engine. The engine was supplied by the customer, was bought by someone, was built by somebody, had Vossner piston in it, as the claims got a forged crank, and also it's got beeper cam in it, which is the 300. Which is the high output. So it's a beeper cam Fiat Punto TBP300 Rally. So this is the cam that actually is in there, and it has a power band between 2600 and 7500 RPM. Okay, so I will just want to tell you how to adjust the camshaft, because of course, being a racing or rally or anyway, an upgraded camshaft does not have a timing point, so you need to find it. Of course, they supply you together with the cam a sheet which tells you the spec of the cam. So in that case, we have duration intake exhaust, which is 200 degrees to 258 degrees. The valve lift is 9.98 millimeter for the exhaust and 11.50 millimeter for the intake. The full lift is 110 degrees at TDC on inlet and exhaust, and the valve clearance goes between exhaust and intake, 0.45 millimeter for exhaust and 0.40 for intake for adjusting the tappets. Now, to set the cam, I did set this dial gauge here, which is important you have. I had to make that plate just to keep the stand, which I use a magnetic stand to set the to hold the dial gauge in place. And also, in that case, I'm using a Mitutoyo dial gauge, which is great. So I have now, at this point, the camshaft is on. This valve is completely shut. So exhaust valve on the number 4 cylinder is completely shut, because of course you need to do the opposite to try and find the timing mark. Of course, on TDC, where the piston is up, you won't fire the first cylinder number 1. But to do that, of course, the only way to find the timing point is the lift of the exhaust valve on cylinder number 4. Now, in that case, as I said, it's 1.45 millimeter. Now, if you see, the dial gauge is set at 1 millimeter 0.45. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my cam backwards, because as I said, the camshaft, so the valve is shut. I'm going to turn the cam backwards, so just to have the lift of the cam, and I have to stop at 1.45 millimeter. So when I'm stopped at that, that means that's the timing mark for this camshaft. Now, so look at the dial gauge. So that's the first 45 went back. So it's the first millimeter, and I'm going to sit on 0. So if you look at the cam here, so exhaust intake is shut. As you see, it's moving freely, and in that case, meaning that this is firing up. So now, the other important things, of course, when you have the engine apart, you must find your TDC with a dial gauge on the top of the head of the piston. Now, because I had the engine already shut, I had to judge roughly where it was with a dial gauge, which I had to put in the cylinder on here. But unfortunately, the one I'm using is accurate, but not accurate, because basically the piston, the angle is sitting like that, and the piston is pushing against it, trying to push it that way. So I have to go with the original marks. but roughly I know where I am. Just I'll show you as well how to set the timing mark and everything. So another thing, now have you seen I moved the camshaft? When you do that, so if you stop the engine with the timing mark, so meaning on TDC on the cylinder number 1, and with everything timed, so mark everything of course before you dismantle everything. The thing that you want to do is look at the timing marks of the crank, turn the crank 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So that means with 90 degrees back, you have the piston, all 4 of them in the middle. So basically you can safely turn your camshaft without touching the valve on the piston. Because of course, what's going to happen if one piston is up, you will smash the valve on the head of the piston. Now, turning by hand, on such a case as the valve are quite big, it's not a problem. I mean, you feel it stop, it doesn't go. Of course, if you force it, you will bend the valve. But in some other cases, like V6 Alfa Romeo 24 valves, because the valve shaft is very tiny, you may occur that you can bend the valve if you're not careful. So it's more, that's the most important thing, is when you play with camshaft. So if you want to turn it like 360 degrees freely, you really need to have the piston in the middle. So, and as I said, every engine, so if you turn the crank 90 degrees back, you'll have all pistons bang in the middle without any problem. So I'll stop the camera now, and I'll just show you, I'll just take off the stand and I'll show you all the timing marks where they should go. Alright, so hard to see. If I move the distributor forward and backwards, you see there's a mark there, a line, and I've got the mark right in the middle of these blue things. Unfortunately, it's not the best because so many years things. If you notice that there's like a cut. Get the focus the camera. You see it? So on that mark, right, that's the marking point. Like so. Okay, on this. And in that case, see, because I told you I had the crank 90 degrees opposite, so this is the timing mark, which is the 0, and that's the mark on the crank pulley. Now I do have a 5th gear in. I can turn the engine forward. When you do that, be careful, because again you can heat the valve with the piston. So that's where you should have your timing marks there, and that's pretty much it. So line it up, so timing mark there, timing mark here, and you should have these things that comes up here. That's the timing mark, which I made previously anyway to help myself. So I took the timing belt off to make the video again, just to show you guys the way it works. So that's where normally you would find a notch there on the sprocket. With the original sprocket you have such a mark like that, and what you do, you just flip up that, and that's the timing mark there. Okay, I hope it's all clear. If you have any questions, just don't hesitate, just comment down below. To support the channel, please subscribe and like the videos. Just leave a thumbs up, will help very much. Okay, thank you so much. Ciao ciao.